Okay, let me start again. You can hear me. You saw me talking, and you didn't hear me. I apologize. Apparently, I was muted on my sound desk there. I need to get used to this new Rodecaster Pro. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Moondrop Alchemist. Hello. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping in here. Good to see you. And I'm just going to repeat really what I was saying, and nobody could hear. um, Basically, hello, welcome everybody to tonight's live stream. As you can see behind me, that we have got a lot of flies, but rain and all kinds of stuff right here in Maine. So, we'll, kind of obscuring the view a little bit, but that camera doesn't do justice. Yeah. so, Helena, can everybody hear me? Let me just check the volume audio for a little minute. Let me just check. I'll be right back. Okay, apologies. Thank you. There's a little delay there, I guess. Let me come back. Well, that messed up my introduction. Okay, I'm going to start over. Thank you for joining us again tonight, guys. We'll edit this piece out, I suppose. And tonight we're just going to be running a few stories of ours. It's only going to be a short stream, probably no more than an hour and a half, I would say, maybe 2 hours. As you can see in the background, the camera is kind of being attacked by rain and all kinds of things, so the view for that isn't excellent. But thank you, Eleanor Salas, for being here, and Moondrop Alchemist. Awesome to see you as well. Stephanie from Moondrop Alchemist, everybody. Is a good friend of ours. She's in our channel, at the bottom of the channel where you get featured channels. We put all of our friends down there as recommended channels. So if you want their link, or you want to see who we subscribe to and who we enjoy watching, then you might want to go down there and have a look at their channels if you haven't. But Stephanie and her team right now what I call like real paranormal investigators. They really tune into a very much more investigative way, and they're more akin, I think, to what's going on in the environment, more sensitive perhaps than a lot of paranormal investigative channels, perhaps. But I don't want to diss anybody. I don't want to, you know, go too crazy with that. So I'm going to bring up a video real soon. And oh, yeah, excellent. Yeah, please do. I mean, we do have a lot of art channels as well. That friends of ours, Stephanie and Moondrop, says that she would check out the other recommendations. And we're all really super busy, so it's really difficult. But there's some good art channels too. So if you're into art and people are into painting, and there's some really good friends there who do some excellent work. So okay. So I'm just going to move on just a little bit and say thank you to all our new subscribers. It's awesome. We've seen some amazing growth over the last 28 days, and there's some great news coming forward for the channel. Despite all of the things that we have planned for the summer, which is the campfire stories, a lot more of the paranormal, but we're also working on episodes which are a little bit, well, they're a lot more upgraded on, currently what the channel has shown over the last year. And, we are only 1 year old, just over now, and we've been in this property for just a year. So we're able now in this coming year to really kind of show what we can do here and how we can open up the channel for other people and other creators too. We have, places here that many people would love to come and spend time in, and that's what we would like to be able to make possible. And we have options of building in the woodland, like what I like to call fairy tale cottages, but some of them are more like witch cottages actually, and they're beautiful. They're so organic, and we've posted pictures of those before. So some big plans, but it doesn't happen without our friends and our subscribers and how we support each other. So again, thank you very much for everybody supporting us, and we do the same for you. We love being a part of your life and what you're bringing, and particularly into the spirit realm and the spirit world. So I'll continue with that a little bit later, but let's get on with the show, and let's just run a couple of videos. And if you haven't seen them before, hopefully you'll enjoy them, and then I'll be back on camera again. And if you have seen them, then hopefully you'll still enjoy them. Oh yes, well, Moondrop, before I move on with that comment, I'm just looking there. It is true, but it's not for everybody. But then there's special, there's the there's the adept, let's say. Well, maybe we'll give it your name. Maybe when we build that one and we show you the picture, maybe we'll call it the Moondrop Cottage. How about that? We'll have your name above it. You come over once a year and you've got a place to stay. And wow, yeah, I'm conjuring images here, and I'm kind of deferring a bit to the imagination, but it's a very real possibility. So let's go with the video, shall we? Just real quick, and let you chat in the text for a little while. I'll be right back. Yeah, I think it's the fairies episode, actually. Yeah, it is. Okay, we'll be right back with fairies. Have you ever felt the whisper of wings brush past your cheek on a quiet woodland path? Or glimpsed a flicker of light just out of reach, dancing in the trees?
Welcome to the enchanted world of fairies. In this episode, we journey into the magical roots of fairy folklore across cultures and centuries. Join us as we find out how fairies have fascinated and frightened humanity for generations.
Long before Tinker Bell and Fairy Wings sparkled on the big screen, fairies lived in myth and oral tradition, guardians of nature and symbols of the unknown. In ancient Greek mythology, the world was born from chaos. The gods and goddesses shaped the earth, and from their divine hands came the nymphs, spirit-like beings tied to the natural world.
There were meadow nymphs, forest nymphs, tree nymphs, and water nymphs, each one tasked with tending a part of nature. They were beautiful, ethereal, and deeply connected to the elements.
Some were pure and helpful, others not so much. Alongside them danced the satyrs, mischievous masculine creatures who walked the line between good and evil. And the sirens, hauntingly beautiful beings who lured sailors to their doom with irresistible song.
Historians believe that these early depictions laid the foundation for what the world would eventually call fairies. Though not yet named, the essence was there: magic, mystery, and a closeness to nature. Let's fast forward to 1400s England. The word fairy began to appear in writing thanks in part to the book Autia Imperialia by Gervase of Tilbury. In it, the globe-trotting scholar described beings both beautiful and ugly, small and tall, good and wicked.
But England didn't adopt these fairies as sweet, fluttering forest friends. In fact, the opposite is true. To the average Briton, fairies were something to fear. They were thought to curse crops, kidnap children, and meddle in human affairs. Some Britons believed that just saying the word fairy could summon the creatures. Instead, people referred to them in hushed tones as the neighbours, the gentry, or the little people. To avoid fairy wrath, some folks altered the very design of their homes, like removing corners so as not to block a fairy's path. They avoided forests, streams, and even certain hillsides, known to be fairy places. To the Britons, fairies weren't creatures of whimsy. They were beings of power.
As Christianity spread across Europe, it encountered deeply rooted folklore and pagan beliefs throughout.
But rather than erase these old stories, the church found a way to repurpose them. Fairies, it was said, were fallen angels, too good for hell, yet not good enough for heaven. They were cast out and sent to earth, suspended in the mortal realm as neither a demon nor a saint. Fairies remained magical and mysterious. However, their purpose was unclear. The church supported this idea, reinforcing religious teachings while accommodating local folklore. It's fascinating how beliefs evolve. What were once forest spirits became divine exiles. What once was myth became a tale of morality.
So, has anyone captured an image of a real fairy? In 1917, two young girls in England, Frances Griffiths and Elsie Wright, took 5 photographs of fairies in the garden near their home. Needless to say, the world was captivated. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, believed they were real and wrote about them in The Coming of the Fairies. Decades later, Elsie admitted that the fairies in the first 4 photos were paper cutouts from a book, but Frances held firm. She insisted the 5th photo showed the real fairies. Whether real or fabricated, the Cottingley fairies sparked renewed interest in fairy folklore, showing just how badly we want to believe.
Next, we head over to Ireland, land of emerald hills, ancient stones, and deep fairy lore. Here, the fairies were not minor spirits. They were once gods. According to Irish mythology, the Tuatha De Danann were a powerful, magical race who ruled Ireland before humans arrived. When they lost a great war against the human Milesians, they vanished into the hills and misty forests. The Tuatha De Danann didn't die. They simply changed. They became the Eossi, or the people of the mounds, being of great beauty and magic, hidden from the mortal eye. Fairy forts, fairy circles, and fairy mounds are still respected in Ireland today. Construction projects have been rerouted, trees left untouched, all to avoid angering the unseen folk. Because, in Ireland, fairies aren't just a myth, they're a presence.
Fairies aren't unique to one country or continent. Their presence spans the globe.
In Celtic traditions, we have the Siddur. In Scandinavia, the Hoodoo folk, the hidden people who live in the rocks and mountains.
In Japan, yokai, like the kappa or yuki-onna, carry the mischievous and ethereal qualities of fairies.
In India, celestial apsaras dance in the clouds and rivers, bringing beauty and fertility.
In West Africa, the Aziza are tiny forest spirits who guide and protect. The Abiku, in contrast, are child spirits trapped between worlds.
And in Native American lore, the Wampanoags Pukuji is a mischievous, sometimes dangerous forest dweller. The Lakota speak of little people who guide and guard.
All across the world, humans have imagined and perhaps encountered beings just beyond the veil.
Beings that watch us from the trees, that dance in the dew, that laugh when no one is around. What's striking in so many fairy stories is their deep connection to nature.
For the most part, fairies live in wooded groves, under ancient hills, beside bubbling streams. They're guardians of flowers, of animals, of balance.
And perhaps that's why belief in fairies has endured. They remind us of the magic we've forgotten. They whisper that the world is alive, enchanted, and listening. Maybe, just maybe, they're still here.
So, where did the idea of fairies with wings come from? Wings, after all, are symbols. They represent freedom, flight, and a being untethered from the ordinary world. Ancient civilizations, from the Sumerians to the Egyptians, revered winged beings as messengers of the divine.
Then came Shakespeare. In A Midsummer Night's Dream, his mischievous fairies flit and flutter through the forest, casting spells and creating chaos. Later, in Peter Pan, we meet Tinkerbell, a fairy with glowing wings and a fiery temper. Art, literature, and film helped cement the image of fairies as dainty winged women in sparkly dresses. But traditional folklore often depicted them quite differently. The Irish Siddur and Scottish Unseelie Court didn't have wings. They walked, vanished, or shimmered into being. Their power was not in flight, but in mystery.
Wands, too, are a modern addition, symbols of control and manifestation. In ancient tales, fairies didn't need wands. They were magic. Still, these symbols seem to help connect us to the stories.
Could fairies exist? Science hasn't proven or disproven their existence. But it has shown that we live in a universe rich with electromagnetic fields, invisible forces, and unexplained energies. Perhaps fairies are life forms we simply haven't detected yet.
Belief in fairies is often dismissed as fantasy, but for those who felt something in the quiet woods or seen something glimmer just out of sight, belief is something else entirely. It's a connection, a possibility, a question still unanswered. So, what are fairies, truly? Are they magical beings from forgotten realms? Nature spirits? Or perhaps something altogether different?
Well, that's for you to decide. Perhaps the true magic of fairies is their resistance to definition.
So the next time you're out walking in nature, step lightly.
And maybe leave a little offering on a stone. Because
You never know who might be watching.
It's an awesome, I love that episode. So thank you for being with us and watching that. We're just going to pause that video. Yeah, we're moving into some of our stuff. Like I said earlier, we have a lot of stuff that's coming up soon, which is very new and quite an upgrade on the way that those videos look. Some of our friends have said that they really enjoy, the content quality, and we want to expand on that a lot more too. So, and that's what we're doing. So at the moment, we're kind of in a temporary studio while we move into the bigger one. And then hopefully you guys will then enjoy, what we produce over the summer and the new videos. But like I said, collaborations are big for us this year, and really helping with hanging out with other channels and sharing what they do and bringing that together, because that really is cool for us. And it brings a whole new dimension to what we do here, worldwide. And also because, we have certain assets around us that other channels don't have, and that can be useful. So whether it be filming in woodland or just using campfire scenes, that could be footage that they can have instead of having to pay for it. And so there's all sorts of options with that, which we're looking forward to doing. But the cottages in particular are what I'm personally looking forward to seeing. And when we have those eventually, then could be this year, it might be next year yet, but when we have them, then the whole scenario changes up there in the woods. What you can do during the day when it comes to filming anything, episodes, if you want to do stories, but then also inviting people to come and be a part of that show. So it goes out on their channel, it goes out on our channel too, and it really, so people actually in character, if we want to try and imagine that, sitting around a campfire, dressed in, I don't know, kind of like the Lord of the Rings, sitting around eating food, telling stories, but actually bringing it into the world and showing almost like a time travel into the woods. And a lot of people would actually like to do that, whether you want to be a part of it or whether you would just like to be standing by and watching that. You can go to places like Disneyland and see it happen, but how about if it was just real people that were doing it, and they weren't getting paid, they were doing it for the love and telling a story and bringing that to us all. So yeah. The campfire stories are going to be a bit bigger this year because we have some invited guests who are hopefully going to come with us and kind of do a dual live stream. And we're sort of working on that idea at the moment. I'm really into the idea of doing sort of dual live streams where you can be, in two separate places and then showing something on the screen at the same time for a live stream. And so it could be two channels, like a campfire channel, or like I enjoy the graveyard and the paranormal investigations, and tying those together. So I'm really, really interested in doing that. And technically, it's really easy, except, and we have the facilities to do it. But unfortunately, it's kind of difficult, with pinning that down to time sometimes. So we're working on that, and there'll be more news coming up around May. So please stay tuned for that. And I'm going to carry on and play the next story for y'all. Thank you for tuning in if you're just stopping by. And thank you to all our new subscribers too. If you're watching after the fact, please turn on your notifications. YouTube is being strange these days with the notifications. Not sure if anybody's been picking up on that. But anyway, we'll roll the next video and I'll be right back. Thank you for being with us. Enjoy the next story. Old paths remember things. That's what the elders of Bramble Hollow used to say, back when the village was little more than stone cottages clustered around a common well, and everyone knew which roads were safe after dark. The path that curved past the hollow was older than the oldest roof beam, packed earth smoothed by boots and cartwheels, older than the boundary stones themselves. And on cold nights, when frost silvered the hedgerows and the fog pressed low against the fields, lantern light used to drift there. Not from anyone, just there. The Lantern Watcher was never spoken of loudly, not because he was feared exactly, but because naming it felt like calling to something that already knew your voice. Those who claimed to see it described it differently. Some said it was tall and spare, wrapped in something like a traveller's cloak, though no wind ever stirred it. Others swore, though, that it was nothing more than a shape the dark made when it grew tired of being empty. But all agreed on the lantern, iron-bound, old-fashioned, with glass gone cloudy from age, glowing with a steady warmth like embers banked for the night. The light never flickered. That's how you knew it wasn't human. The Lantern Watcher did not hurry. He did not speak. It stood at bends in the path beyond the last cottage, where the road narrowed and the fields gave way to twisted hawthorn and low, whispering trees, always just far enough ahead that you could see it, but never quite reach it. When travelers followed the glow, just to keep their footing, just to feel less alone, the path seemed to soften. Frozen ruts smoothed beneath their boots, briars leaned aside, and the cold loosened its grip. Some arrived at their doors sooner than expected, hearth fires still warm, as if they'd never gone out. And others found themselves before places that should not have been there. Stone foundations swallowed by moss, empty doorways leading to nowhere, or cottages that felt known in the bones despite never having been lived in. There were rules, passed down like recipes and warnings. Never thank the Lantern Watcher. Never ask it to guide you, and if it ever stopped walking, you stopped too. Now, no one could say where the rules came from, only that ignoring them never ended well. One winter, after a snowfall so heavy it bowed the orchard trees and swallowed the field walls, a newcomer arrived in Bramble Hollow. He had the look of a man between places, boots worn thin, cloak patched, and confidence born of disbelief. When he saw the lantern ahead of him in the old path, he laughed, called out, asking if the bearer knew the way to the main road before the night fully set in. The lantern halted. Those watching from the far edge of the field said the light dimmed, not by much, only enough to feel it. Then it turned and began to drift from the path, slipping between the trees where the fog lay thickest. The man followed. By morning, his footprints ended cleanly at the hollow's edge, pressed sharp into the snow. Beyond that, there were no tracks at all, no signs of haste, no signs of fear, just the quiet sense that he had stepped somewhere winter could not reach. After that, small things changed. Lanterns burned longer in the village without being trimmed. Doors were sometimes found latched against the wind, even when no one remembered closing them. And on certain nights, when the fog crept low and the bells in the distance fell silent, a warm glow could still be seen drifting along the old path, pausing patiently at the bend beyond the last stone wall. Some say the lantern watcher keeps travelers from wandering forever. Others say it chooses who does. But the elders of Bramble Hollow still say the same thing they always have. If you ever see that steady golden light waiting for you on a dark road, mind your steps, follow only if you must, and whatever you do, don't speak to it. Because old paths remember things, and in places this old, they remember everyone. Yes, they do. They seem to remember everyone. So we'll pause the video for that one there and just welcome in. This is a wonderful evening on Friday, early Saturday if you're in the UK or anywhere like that, that's for sure. And so Fusion Rocket has joined us, and it's 1:30 in the morning for Fusion, so good that Fusion could join us. And she says that she took her son to the emergencies, and he thinks that he might have, I can't pronounce that, mononucleosis. That sounds really bad. I hope that he's going to be good there, Nick, because that's not good at all. Yeah, must be keeping you up at night too, huh? But yeah, just saying. Excuse me, saying that we're just here just for a couple of hours tonight, and just showing a few videos, and really good to see our friends in. Eleanor Salas is our moderator tonight, so Fusion. Eleanor's in Texas, and so we have people across the United States right now, and a couple of other people who, and also we did have Moonlight Alchemist with us. Not sure if Moonlight is still with us, who's paranormal investigator. But yeah, you're absolutely welcome. Hopefully you can stick around and relax, or I understand if it's a bit late for you and you need to get to rest there. But there's the folklore kind of type commands that for the game, which we just have in the text chat for people just to play. It's a little bit of fun, and we play for what we call Moonlight Marks. So they're kind of like a bit of a fun game based around our Folklore Forest. And our camera, which is just overlooking our cemetery, which is right next door to our house. And then we're just going to play a few videos and hang out for a short while. But I'll be right back. I'm going to go off the camera slightly, and I'll keep playing the next video so we don't go too much. Appalachia. This isn't a single place on the map. Enjoy this one. It's a region defined less by borders and more by terrain, by ridgelines, hollows and valleys that fold in on themselves. It's a long, weathered spine of mountains stretching from the southern edges of New York and Pennsylvania, down through West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, and deep into the hills of Georgia and Alabama. These are among the oldest mountains on Earth. Older than the Rockies, older than the Alps, worn down not by violence, but by time. Ah, time. The people who have lived in Appalachia for generations will tell you that age does matter. That the mountains remember things newer places never had time to learn. You don't usually enter a place like Appalachia all at once. You feel it happen. The roads narrow, cell service fades, and the land arises closer, as if it's listening. Also, sound carries differently here in Appalachia. A creak can be heard long before it's seen. At night, the darkness feels heavier and somehow closer. There's an old saying in some hollers, spoken half in warning and half in explanation. If a chimney is still standing, someone is still there. Not living, just not gone. Across Appalachia, stone chimneys stand alone in fields, on hillsides, and deep in forests where houses once stood. Since then, the walls have collapsed and the roofs caved in decades or even centuries ago. Trails that once led to front doors have vanished beneath leaves and moss. Families moved on or died out, or were carried away by work, war, or the slow pull of the outside world. But when all the people are gone, the chimney remains. To outsiders, these structures look like simple ruins, remnants of poverty, fire, or abandonment. But to many Appalachian families, they represent something else entirely. These lone chimneys are markers, and there is a quiet rule, passed down without ceremony. If the house is gone, the chimney stays. Often in early Appalachian homesteads, before any walls were raised or floors were laid, the chimney was built. This makes sense, considering the hearth was the center of daily life. Food was prepared there, clothes were dried there, and children learned to walk there. During the long winters, when heavy snowfall caused mountain passes to close, and families went weeks without seeing another soul, it was the hearth that made survival possible. When sickness came, beds were dragged close to the fire, and when death came, which it often did, the hearth bore witness. Bodies were laid out nearby, prayers were spoken there, and final goodbyes were said in the flickering firelight. In Appalachia, stone not only absorbs heat, it absorbs memory as well. So, what happened when a home burned, collapsed, or was finally abandoned? Well, families were warned not to disturb the chimney, of course. In parts of eastern Kentucky and West Virginia, the warning was simple: leave it be. You didn't tear it down. You didn't haul the stone away for reuse. And you didn't clear the foundation just to make the land look tidy. In sections of the Blue Ridge, the advice carried a different weight. If you must rebuild, you build around it. The old chimney was incorporated into the new structure, even if it no longer served its original purpose. The old chimney became a reminder, visible proof that someone had endured on that land before, and to remove it was an invitation for loss. Stories still circulate through coal country to this day, along the eastern Kentucky and West Virginia borderlands, of chimneys that were dismantled against better judgment. The stones were reused for foundations, garden walls, even barns. Practical choices, sensible ones. After all, good stone was hard to come by in the mountains, and nothing went to waste. But soon, trouble followed. New foundations cracked without explanation. Walls shifted and split, making them useless. Humans weren't the only ones noticing something off about these new structures. It's been told that animals would refuse to enter the barns built with the old stone, spooking and barking as though something inside the building unsettled them. In more than one telling, the chimney stones were eventually carried back and stacked again where the original hearth once stood. Some might say these events happened because the place was haunted. But, as locals quietly put it, the stone had been returned to where it belonged. After that, the trouble stopped. In Appalachian belief, a hearth fire was thought to guard the household, not only from cold and hunger, but from wandering spirits, ill intent, and things said to move through the mountains after dark. Some families believed a fire never truly went out, it only slept. And even when a house stood empty for years, the memory of the fire remained in the chimney. To dismantle that chimney was to scatter something that had once been contained. And memory, when displaced, doesn't always rest quietly. Back in the 19th and early 21st centuries, burial was not always formal in isolated mountain communities. Doctors were far away, and infant mortality was tragically common. Cemeteries could be miles away, accessible only by narrow trails, and winters were harsh. Some families chose to bury stillborn or newborn children close to the home, and sometimes beneath the hearth itself. Here, the warmth and proximity were believed to offer protection in both life and death. In parts of western North Carolina and the Blue Ridge, elders warned that certain chimneys stood watch over small, unmarked graves. To remove the stone was to disturb a rest that was never meant to be temporary. When this warning was ignored and illness followed, it was not always regarded as a curse. It was a consequence. A standing chimney with no house is a liminal structure. It's neither home nor ruin, past nor present. Appalachian folklore places great importance on thresholds, doorways, creek crossings, ridgetops, and even dusk and dawn. A lone chimney becomes a vertical threshold, connecting earth and sky, memory and forgetting. Liminal places are where boundaries thin. Many Appalachian families trace their ancestry to Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and northern England. In those regions, chimneys were believed to be passageways, not only for smoke, but for spirits. In fact, protective objects were hidden inside them. Iron, shoes, bones, and written prayers are just a few examples. Those beliefs eventually crossed the Atlantic and took root in the mountains of North America. Spread over such a vastly large area, the lessons adapted over time from region to region. In the northern reaches of Appalachia, for example, chimney lore often leads toward warning and bad luck. If you travel further south, warning becomes more about respect and remembrance. In coal camps, chimneys are tied to labor, loss, and sudden disappearances. And in farming communities, the lore is connected to lineage and land. They might all be different mountains, but they surely come with the same caution. Regardless of where in Appalachia you hear this folklore, one aspect remains constant, that the land itself is aware, mountains watch, and forests listen. A standing chimney is a marker of humility, a quiet acknowledgement that someone endured here before you, and removing it can be seen as a challenge. Today, hikers, hunters, and photographers still stumble upon lone chimneys deep in the woods of Appalachia. These are areas with no roads nearby and no houses for miles. They take photos, wander around and speculate, and then move on. Locals, on the other hand, often feel something heavier and impactful at these sites. Some won't step inside the old foundation stones, and others won't touch the rock at all. Even still, many will say the same thing: that's not ours to mess with. So, is Appalachian chimney folklore all about ghosts and superstition? Or is it about something truly timeless? Perhaps it is an understanding that some foundations are meant to remain, even when their purpose is no longer visible. A chimney standing alone says that someone else lived here, someone endured the winter here, someone was loved here, and the mountains remember them well. So, If you find yourself on a back road or walking a ridge at dusk, and you see stone rising from grass or forest, will you leave it standing? Not out of fear, but out of respect? Well, that's for you to decide. Excellent, excellent, excellent. What a wonderful Friday evening to spend with all of my friends tonight, all of our friends worldwide. And thank you for playing along with the game too, guys. That's really, really awesome. Are you having fun with that right now? We'll just pause that video stream just for a second, just to say hello to everybody and thank you again for being with us tonight. I mean, what an amazing night. We're getting into April, you know, it's early April. And for once, we're starting to see the season coming warmer. And I mean, how can you not be excited, you know? So many things everybody has planned, right? Wherever you are. If you're over in the UK right now, you're lucky because you've got spring a little early, but I know that it's been a really long, tough early part of 26 weather-wise because you've had nothing but rain, pretty much, and wind. And then when I look at the temperatures over there in Celsius form, I'm like, oh boy. I mean, it has been cold here. Yeah, certainly a lot colder in the UK. We've had to deal with a lot more ice and snow. But you know, we were praying for rain, actually. And honestly, I would have swapped you guys for 4 months of rain than what we had. But still, yeah, it is what it is. And so, yeah, Fusion's a good friend of ours. Actually, guys, just want to mention before I go on to the next video, Fusion and I met through a channel called Irish Trail Cam Clips. And this is a good friend of ours in Ireland, actually, who just posts nature videos, which is really, really high quality, and then occasionally does a live stream. And the live stream is always really cool because you get to just hang out with people who are just genuine people, and we talk between each other and we share our channels. And today, pretty much, that's what we did. So I've really, really enjoyed going through a couple of friends like Ladybug and Fusion and just seeing what they post and checking out their life and what they're doing. And man, I've got to tell you, that's some fun stuff right there. No kidding, no kidding. So I can't say that enough. I really do love to highlight our friends. We do at Worldwide, and we get a lot of benefit from that, you know, because we take a break and we watch your channels, and we just relax and we put them on the big screen TV. I do. Or I go in the living room, I'll go in the kitchen, I'll make some lunch, and I'll put the big TV on, and I'll think, right, whose channel am I going to be watching today? Who's going to make me laugh? Or who's going to intrigue me, or whatever, you know. So thank you guys. Fusion, thank you very much for your channel. I really do. And I'm going to be watching more of that. You'll see me popping up here or there. And also our friend Druidian, my brother, you'll see him popping up. So let's roll the video real quick. Don't want to go too long with this one. This is The Passenger. This is a good one. It's a little bit like Christine.
Evelyn's first mistake was buying the car in cash from a man who wouldn't look her in the eye. The sedan wasn't much to look at. Dull grey, dented, a little rust along the doors. It ran cheap, and she needed something reliable. The seller muttered a warning as he signed over the title. It doesn't like to be ignored. Then he walked away. At first, she thought it was just an old beater, and with a few quirks. The headlights flickered, the glove box wouldn't stay shut, and the radio never turned off. Just a steady hiss of static, no matter how hard she turned the knob. But soon, the car started showing a will of its own. The first time was a stoplight. She braked, but the sedan kept rolling forward, forcing her into the intersection. Horns blared as traffic screamed past. Evelyn jammed both feet on the brake, and At the last second, the car halted on its own, like it had decided when to stop. She told herself it was bad brakes, but the next night it happened again. This time, the car jumped a red light, ignoring her frantic stomping on the pedal. A truck missed her by inches. When she finally coasted to the shoulder, she sat gripping the wheel, shaking as the radio crackled with faint laughter. Days turned into a blur of close calls. Sometimes the accelerator pressed harder under her foot, dragging her faster than she meant to go. Sometimes the wheel twitched sharply, steering her toward guardrails or into the path of oncoming cars. It was never enough to kill her outright, but just enough to make her feel the heat of a collision, the brush of death passing too close. And through it all, the radio whispered. At first, it was static, then faint words, a calm male voice, low and steady. Let me drive. Evelyn stopped sleeping. She stopped eating. She stopped going anywhere unless she absolutely had to. But each morning, the car waited for her, parked neatly outside her building, keys in the ignition, headlights angled toward her door. One night, after yet another near miss on the highway, Evelyn yanked the wheel into a gas station lot and fled. She left the car idling, doors wide open, and ran the rest of the way home. But when she got there, the lights in her apartment were already on, and sitting neatly on the kitchen table, her car keys. Her stomach dropped. She hadn't brought them. She had left them in the ignition. The next morning, the sedan was parked at the curb outside of her building, engine cold, doors unlocked, radio silent, waiting. She told herself she wouldn't touch it again, but later that week her phone buzzed with a text. No number, just 4 words. Time for a ride? That night, neighbors reported seeing a grey sedan tearing through the streets without headlights, swerving wildly, never stopping at intersections. Some swore there was no one behind the wheel, and others swore they saw a woman inside screaming. The car hasn't been seen since, but every so often people claim they hear tires screeching late at night, followed by faint hiss of static drifting through the dark. They say pukujis don't like to be seen. Small, grey-skinned tricksters with spines like porcupines and eyes that glow like dying embers. Some stories say they were once friends to humans, until jealousy turned them cruel. Now they haunt the edges of the forest, where the trees grow thick and the mist never lifts. Aaron didn't believe in any of that. He'd grown up in southern New England, hearing the tales from his grandmother, who called them the little men of the woods. But he was a rational man. Folklore didn't scare him. Bears did. Coyotes, ticks, not pukujis. So, when he bought an old hunting cabin deep in the pines near Freetown State Forest, he thought the warnings were just local color. He learned it differently. the first week he stayed there. It began with footprints, small, human-shaped prints, barefoot, appearing in the forest just outside his porch each morning. He'd wake up to find them circling the house, never leading in, never leading out. Then came the noises, soft giggles that echoed from the tree line after dark, rocks clacking together in rhythmic patterns, like someone knocking just to see if he'd answer. One night, his generator shut off without warning, and he stepped outside with a flashlight and saw a figure crouched by the fuel tank, small, no taller than his hip, with coarse grey hair and long fingers tipped in black nails. It turned toward him. Its face was almost human, but wrong, too smooth, too deliberate, like someone had carved the idea of a face from wet clay. Its mouth stretched into a sharp, unnatural grin. Aaron stumbled back, the flashlight flickered, and in that instant of darkness, the thing vanished. He locked every door, stuffed towels under the sills, and sat up until dawn with his rifle. When daylight came, he found the generator cover torn open and his flashlight lying on the porch, its batteries neatly removed. The local ranger he called the next morning didn't seem surprised. "You're near the old quarry, right?" he said. "You might want to leave an offering." Aaron laughed, thinking it was a joke, but that night he heard scratching at the windows. The same giggling, now closer, circling the house. His phone buzzed, with no signal, the battery draining before his eyes. Then came the smell, sweet and metallic, like copper mixed with rotting leaves. He peered through the curtain and froze. There were 5 of them now, small, stooped, their eyes glowing a dim amber. They stood at the edge of the porch, whispering in a language he couldn't understand. One of them held his missing flashlight, another clutched a feathered charm, his grandmother's, which he kept by his bedside. Aaron didn't sleep that night. When dawn came, he packed his truck and drove until the trees thinned. In his rearview mirror, he thought he saw one of the creatures standing in the road behind him, hand raised in a mocking wave. He hasn't gone back since, but sometimes, when the nights are still and the wind moves through the pines just right, he swears he can hear that same soft giggle on the edge of the forest. They say Boogoogies don't like to be seen, but if you ever do see one, it's already too late.
What do you think of that story, huh, guys?
The year was
Oh, this one,
1907.
Catcher's house. I'll leave it to you.
The woods of northern Michigan were still wild then. Long stretches of pine and cedar where the fog hung low and the wind never stopped whispering. Somewhere between the old logging roads and the riverbank, a man named Caleb Holt stumbled through the underbrush, bleeding and breathless. He'd robbed a payroll train 2 days earlier, killed a man doing it. Now, the sheriff's posse was close behind. He could hear their dogs in the distance. By nightfall, the woods swallowed him whole. He pushed through the dark until he saw it, a crooked shack leaning in the pines, its windows glowing faintly from the last scraps of daylight. The place was draped in dream catchers. They hung from the eaves, the porch beams, the trees themselves. Hundreds of them. Some were new and tightly woven, others were rotted, their sinewed cords broken, feathers grey with age. They swayed gently in the wind, whispering as if speaking to one another. Caleb thought it was the strangest thing he'd ever seen, but it was a shelter, and a law wouldn't find him here. He pushed open the door. Inside, it was worse. Dream catchers everywhere, hanging from rafters, nailed to the walls, and stacked in the corners. Their threads quivered, even without wind, and the whole room smelled faintly of smoke and sage. He dropped his satchel of stolen bills on the table and lit a lantern. Dust floated like ghosts in the beam. As he turned to close the door, a voice behind him said, "Best not stay there long." Caleb spun, hand on his revolver. An old native man stood in the doorway, holding a bow across his shoulders. His expression was calm, unreadable, like he'd been expecting him. "Who are you?" Caleb barked. "Hunter," the man said simply. "This is not my house. It belongs to the dream catcher." Caleb frowned. "Looks like a heap of sticks to me." The man stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "Long ago, a man stayed here too long. He laughed at the warnings, like you, and when the snow melted, they found him wandering by the river. His eyes were white as milk. He said something had crawled into his dreams, a spirit that made him see every bad thing he'd ever done, made him do things he didn't want to do. He clawed his own face to keep from sleeping." The old man's voice dropped lower. "After that, he vanished. The house stayed. So did the spirit. These," he gestured to the hundreds of dream catchers, "keep it from leaving." Caleb smirked. "Appreciate the bedtime story, old-timer, but I'll take my chances." The hunter sighed and turned to go. "Then I'll say this. When you hear it whisper your name, don't answer." Caleb watched him disappear into the trees. That night, he bolted the door and threw another log on the fire. He tried not to look at the dream catchers, but it was impossible. No matter where he turned, one seemed to hang just at the edge of his vision. Their webs pulsed faintly in the firelight, like veins under the skin. As the hours crawled by, sleep finally took him. And then the whispering began. At first, it was soft, just like the wind through the trees. But soon, he could hear words carried on the flicker of the flames, a low voice calling his name over and over. "Caleb." He jolted awake. The fire was nearly out. The dream catchers swayed through the air, although it was still. "Caleb, why did you do it?" He grabbed his gun, eyes darting around the room. The voice came from everywhere, from inside the walls, from inside his head. "You took what wasn't yours. You spilled blood for it. Now we share the same dream." His breath came in short grasps. He fired a shot into the ceiling. The sound exploded through the cabin. and every dream catcher trembled at once. Something unseen moved through them. The webs stretched and shimmered, their threads twisting like living things. One by one, the feathers turned black, the beads glowing faintly red, like tiny eyes opening in the dark. The next morning, when the posse finally tracked his trail, they found his campfire still warm. The shack stood silent, its door hanging open. There was no sign of Caleb Holt, only his revolver lay on the floor. It rusted overnight, and in the center of the floor, a new dream catcher, freshly woven. Its web glistened as if wet, a single dark feather hanging from the center. When the sheriff touched it, he swore he heard a faint whisper from somewhere deep inside, a man's voice still calling his own name.
Yeah. That would scare the bejesus out of me, I'll tell you that now. So a real quick pause. We're coming up to almost to 1 hour, and we're going to be running for the next 2 videos, or 1 more video, guys. So I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody, especially to Fusion. It's really good to see Fusion from the UK, and at their time right now, very early morning Saturday, so I hope she gets some sleep. God bless her. Eleanor, thank you also for keeping everybody entertained, and also for showing everybody the game. I wanted to share more news, but I also don't want to bore you too much. But I think like we really need to sort of like push those campfire stories. And I think when we show the next video in the next live stream, we're going to run some of the scenery, or at least some of the B-roll, at least that I recorded recently about our initial startup and how difficult it was to actually to get a decent fire going so soon, after the snow has left us. So as you can imagine, after that, the ground is very waterlogged. Yeah, it was pretty tough. Yeah, it is. It's very good, Eleanor, and also for Loves to Paint too. Nick, I think Nick, I'm not really sure if she prefers Nick, but if she's still with us. Also good to see Loves to Paint, another channel that we follow, and occasionally when we get the chance to stop by in a live stream. But I like her painting is very cool, and an expression of individual art, which is what art really is. If she's still with us, I hope she appreciates that comment. So going to run on a little bit further before we don't going to get too late. I know different time zones for everybody, so right. I'm not quite sure.
Along Alaska's southeastern coast, where the forest presses close to the sea and fog moves like something alive, there are sounds you are taught to ignore.
Yeah, we're looking forward
Waves breaking against stone, ice shifting in the tide, and voices that sound almost right. The Tlingit people have a name for what makes these voices. Kushtaka. They are said to be shape changers, part otter, part human, belonging to the narrow places where land, river and ocean touch. Not fully one thing or the other. Not meant to be understood the way animals are understood. Only avoided. The old stories say the Kushtaka do not announce themselves. They do not roar or rush or reveal sharp teeth. They call softly, using sounds that draw people closer without fear. A baby crying near the shore. A familiar voice calling your name through the trees. Or the sound of someone struggling in cold water. The voice is never quite urgent enough to panic you. just enough to make you hesitate. Those who have lived along the coast for generations know the rules. If you hear something calling for help where no one should be, you do not answer alone. If you hear your name spoken from the fog, you do not follow it. And if the shoreline goes suddenly quiet, you turn back, even if you're certain someone needs you. One fisherman told of hearing laughter while checking his nets near dusk. It sounded like children playing somewhere down the beach, just beyond the bend of a rock where the fog thickened. He stood there for a long moment, trying to place the sound. There were no children in his village. And when the laughter shifted, stretching, slowing, almost leaning the sound as it made it, he felt the cold crawl up his spine. He backed away without turning his back to the water, just as he'd been taught. By morning, his nets had been neatly gathered on the shore. No tracks, no signs of hands, just wet rope laid out as though someone had meant to help. Others speaking of seeing shapes moving through the shallows of night, upright for a moment, then slipping smoothly beneath the surface, too fluid to be human and too deliberate to be an animal. Sometimes people are found later, confused but unharmed, far from where they last remembered standing. They speak of being guided through the forest, kept warm and told to rest. They never describe faces clearly, and they never return to the water the same way again. The elders say the Kushtaka are not evil, not exactly. They are keepers of thresholds, creatures of the in-between. They protect their shores the way storms protect the sea. They do not hate people. They simply do not want them wandering where they don't belong. And that is why, even now, people in the coastal villages lower their voices near the water at night. They travel together when the fog comes in thick, and when someone hears a sound that doesn't sit right in the chest, they pretend they didn't hear it at all. Because in Alaska, the land listens back. And if you answer every voice that calls to you from the dark, eventually something will learn how to sound exactly like someone you trust. That's the beauty. I'm just going to jump up on the mic real quick. This is probably going to be the last video that we're going to show tonight, guys, just to let you know. So thank you again for tuning in. Yeah, I always lose at this game, and we made it. And it just goes to show it doesn't have any favoritism. So, it's so funny. I think Eleanor Salas right now is the queen of the mound, the fairy mounds, the hills and whatever. She's got like $1 million or something crazy, Maybe one day we'll find a way of changing that into real money. I mean, that would be fun. But yeah, keep dreaming, mate. So the last one is I think it's the Hudson Valley. But I want to thank everybody for stopping by. I'll be right back with you before the end. And just enjoy the game. And we'll be back again tomorrow night. Maine paranormal stories, absolutely. Yeah, it is. It's the Maine paranormal. So much more paranormal stories in Maine we haven't really explored, actually. So, that's something that we need to consider for the future too. Thank you for reminding me, Kissy. Good idea.
But yeah, so I hope everybody's having an awesome Friday, Eleanor. Yeah, thank you, darling. Hope you've had a good day off and the rest of the weekend too. Tomorrow night we'll just be doing again just a short live stream. So if you can stop by between 8 and well, probably around 8 and 10, you know, it's about the same length, hour and a half. And maybe we'll switch the camera angles a little bit for people too, give them a different view. So let's run this next video. Enjoy it. So, thank you guys.
There is a popular legend behind the large white cross that has stood on the edge of the top of Maiden's Cliff in the Camden Hills for more than a century. It was believed for many decades the cliff received its name after a heartbroken woman threw herself from the cliff, distraught over the loss of her lover. But this romantic tragedy is not at all what really happened. Long before Lincolnville Beach was known by its name, it was known as French's Beach, named after its founders, the French family. On May 6th, 1864, the youngest daughter of Zadok French, 12-year-old Eleanora, and a few of her siblings joined a group heading to the top of the cliff for a picnic. In a detailed account given by Eleanora's sister years later, she said she believed that while her back was turned, a gust of wind blew Eleanora's bonnet off her head. Eleanora reached for it, not realizing how close she was to the edge. She fell 300 feet down and survived the fall. But it was hours before rescuers could reach her. There were no visible injuries to her. She didn't have any obvious broken bones, but presumably her internal injuries were very, very severe. Unfortunately, Eleanora did not make it through the night. As the years passed, Eleanora's story still lingered in the Camden-Lincolnville area. It touched one wealthy tourist in particular, inventor Joseph B. Stearns, who decided the young girl shall never be forgotten. He paid for the first white cross to be erected at the edge of the cliff that has remained a marker on Maiden's Cliff to this day. With ghostly sightings of the young girl around the cliff being reported for over a century, this might just be one of the most haunted hiking trails in Maine. This disturbing tale allegedly took place 25 years ago at an old abandoned well in the town of Sabattus, Maine. The exact location of this well is still speculated. However, we can bring you to the general location of where this mysterious incident took place. One day, a trio of preteen boys came upon an abandoned well behind an ancient barn at the far end of a long-forgotten cemetery. The area was known to be haunted and therefore prompted a dare. The boys, dared each other to go down into the uncovered well. Only one of the boys accepted the challenge, eager to impress his friends. His friends, giddy with excitement, found some rope laying around, as well as a small tire for the kid to sit on. They lowered him down into this deep, dark well until they lost sight of him completely. That's when things became eerily quiet. The boy in the well wasn't saying anything, and there was no movement on the rope. With haste, the two boys pulled their friend back up and were stunned by what they saw. The boy's hair had turned pure white, and his appearance was that of a haggard old man. He had aged decades somehow in the few minutes he was down there. When his friends were able to pull him onto the ground beside the well, the boy began laughing maniacally with dark and wild eyes, and he trembled with terror. When questioned about what had happened down in the well, the boy responded with gibberish. He had apparently lost his mind and gone insane. According to locals, the boy was never the same again, his condition incurable. He was sent to the county institution to live out his days as an asylum patient, where, many say, you can still hear him screaming from the windows.
That scream, it scares the crap out of me. I woke up one night while I was playing one of the playlists. I'm going to pause the video, actually. I'm probably going to end the stream.
Further north,
this is a really good
in
video,
Aroostook County,
just give me a second.
the town of Haines.
It kind of spooked me out one night because I didn't realise that we were running the video, and I fell asleep. It was about 3 a.m, and all of a sudden I heard that weird scream. I'd totally forgotten about that video, and it was pretty creepy. But yeah, okay. It is getting a little bit late, and I want to thank everybody for a wonderful night tonight, and just draw this one to a close for night. We're going to be looking forward to doing the same again for the same amount of time tomorrow, and just hang out. So thank you again, Eleanor. Always good to see everybody. At Moonlight Alchemist, Moondrop Alchemist, sorry. There are so many names, and also people I've just been stopping by, but I just want to give a big shout out to everybody and say thank you. Check out the channel at the bottom for our recommended channels, by the way. All of our friends there are recommended, so if you're interested in looking at our friends and their channels, then the links are all there for you. And coming up soon, we're going to have a little special notice where we're going to be doing an interview live with one of our friends in Discord, and we won't give too much about that away right now. And then we have the Fire to Fire series coming soon in May. So live campfire, food cooking, stories, and well, who knows? Who knows what will be there? Who's going to be in here with Discord? And you might be one of those people who could be up on the camera if you want. Ask you questions and tell us which food to cook. Is it hot dogs, beans, bacon, ham, or vegetarian? What kind of vegetarian food could you cook on a fire? So many options. All right, guys. You have a good night. God bless. Have a happy Friday. Thank you for joining us. And if you're re-watching after the fact, thank you so much. We will see you tomorrow again at 8 p.m. on Saturday evening, Eastern Standard Time, into early April. Bye for now.